Welcome back to the Barca Breakdown. My name is Adam. I'm here with Yus.
What's up, guys? Smash that subscribe button because we are trying to make content for you guys, and we'd love for your support.
How are we going to make content with games like this one today, Yus? A 2-2 draw versus Espanyol. Thankfully, we saved a point late in the game because Luc de Jong, once again, showed us he's pretty good at headers, just like Koeman had said. But overall, the game was really disappointing, right? We get that early goal from Pedri off a beautiful Jordi Alba cross in the first minute. And then we, let up a good shot from Espanyol, and then Eric Garcia just has a blunder for all time.
I've said this time and time again. Eric Garcia is not the man to come in.
No, not at all. We
so
can
bad.
put it on the record. We are not pro Eric Garcia, but I see a lot of people whose opinions I respect who really think his distribution out of the back is good. But with the defensive mistakes he makes, he's had a red card earlier this season. It just really doesn't make sense to me that we keep putting him in. But the Eric Garcia mistake, I think, it kind of exemplifies the issue with this match, which was Xavi and the management that we had, right? We were putting on subs that really did not make a lot of sense. 1. 2, we put in Eric Garcia for Araujo, who picked up an injury. With Eric Garcia not playing a game in over a month, right? Clement Lenglet, I think, would have been a better choice to put in a sub in a very intense, Barcelona derby. And then the third thing that I thought was messed up is just, we come into the game and we see Busquets again start. Okay, that's fine. But he has an awful game and he plays a full 90 again. We take off Frenkie de Jong early. We take off Gavi. We don't put on Nico for Busquets. So I think overall this was really one of those games where Xavi's management kind of lost us the battle.
Plus, our front line was very odd near the end of that game. Aubameyang, Dembele, Traore, Ferran Torres,
Luc de Jong. We just put on a bunch of forwards. Really had no rhyme or reason.
Kind of killed our midfield.
For sure it killed our midfield. And, we just got to be thankful. Again, Luc de Jong came on, but it sets us up for a pretty rough couple games, right? We have Napoli this coming Thursday with Araujo possibly injured. It looks like it's not that serious, but he might not be able to play. And then we have Piqué, who picked up a red at the end of the game. Again, one of our captains not keeping his head on straight, gets a red. He's out for Valencia. If Araujo's out for Valencia, we'd have to have an Eric Garcia Lenglet lineup. And so it's really tough, right? But let's kind of gather our thoughts here. So if we look back at the starting lineup, I think we were all pretty happy, right? Which is that we used the same starting lineup as we did against Atletico, except we just replaced Dani Alves, who's now out for one more game now because of that red card he received against Atletico, and we put in Serginho Dest, right? So we had Ter Stegen, Alba, Piqué, Araujo, Serginho Dest. Then we had Frenkie de Jong, Pedri, and Busquets in the midfield, and then up front we again had Gavi with Ferran Torres and Adama Traore, right? And so you look at that lineup, and overall you're pretty happy, but there is a recurring trend I see, which is Adama Traore is wonderful. He has been such an absolutely great signing. His ability to take on players one-on-one and to drive crosses into the box is just unmatched, right? Dembele, definitely not as good at those crosses as Traore is. But what we end up seeing happening here is that Ferran Torres is kind of invisible in this lineup. I feel like, he had at least 2 good shots at headers he was not able to capitalize on. And so I'm starting to wonder if Ferran Torres is the guy we need to start with this lineup. Because Luc de Jong, again, put in a wonderful header at the end of the game. And you really do have to think, as we look into Napoli, if the lineup's going to look very similar to what we had today, I think you got to sub out Ferran Torres for Luc de Jong.
Sure, but Ferran Torres, for example, should not just be only taking these headers. He's kind of our striker position when we play him in the front there. So that's okay to take some headers, but I don't see him. He's very quiet. He's not taking a lot of shots. He's not dribbling the ball. He's not doing too much to cause that offensive effect. But while we have Traore on the right side, who's very effective in making crosses in, I think that would be the best choice, because if he's able to put those crosses in like he did at the end of that game to get Luc de Jong that ball and score, it's obviously a wonderful position. And if you start Luc de Jong and it's not going so well, we have the lineup now, especially to put in Aubameyang, to put in Ferran Torres in that case, to put in Dembele, because we saw him come on and they're obviously going to be utilizing him. So we just need Xavi to also make these subs at appropriate times. I feel like he did start warming up players at the 47th minute.
But how do you leave on Busquets, man?
That's true.
And it's just baffling to me how we continue to see Busquets play a full 90. It just really makes me think that we don't have a good grasp on what the team needs, and we're just putting in one of Xavi's friends to start. And I think that's a real point of criticism to have for Xavi. Like we said, how does Eric Garcia make that mistake? It was so bad. One of the worst mistakes I've seen since, if you guys remember, Lenglet, I think at the beginning of last season, got that red card handball that was really bad. I just don't see it with Eric Garcia. right? We mentioned earlier on about how there's so many people who love Eric Garcia for his distribution of the ball, but he's a center back. And we really need a center back who can kill the attack. And clearly, Araujo is that guy. Unfortunately, he got injured. Sure. But again, I think Lenglet needs to be that second man on. And, you know, a lot of this issue stems from Busquets not being able to get balls out quickly with passes, not being able to stop their opposing midfield from passing it forward. And so because Busquets is such a liability, we really need a center back who can stomp out attacks more than I think we need one who has good distribution, because our defense is just really getting run at. And, you know, there's a lot of very threatening opportunities that teams have against us right now.
Busquets should have came off after the first half. He had some good plays at the beginning, I would say, overall, but the second half he really fell off. And I think we definitely need to make appropriate subs, keep Frankie de Jong in, put in somebody else in the midfield. Pedri's looking good overall. He's running on the ball. He's able to put himself in the middle position. Dest still needs to have a little more work on that right wing. He needs to maybe take from Dani Alves and move in sometimes.
But I think, you know, when you talk about... First off, I agree with you. Pedri, Frankie de Jong, and Gavi all look very good, right? Gavi, that first goal, there was a quick pass from Frankie de Jong to Alba to get that cross in for Pedri to score, right, which was really good. And then Gavi, you know, scored a goal that was barely called offside because Frankie de Jong inadvertently touched the ball, and I don't think it was really a very positive movement for Barca, so I don't see how they gave it the offside. The ref today was kind of all over the place. But then with Serginho Dest, I'm a little bit confused because with the way Dest plays, I really think Xavi's telling him to not try and do what Dani Alves did, right? It seems like Dest is really stuck on that right side to defending and very rarely moving forward because we have so much dynamic play from Adama Traore. So, like, I get why people say that Dest needs to learn from Alves and what he's kind of doing, but I also feel like it looks like his instructions are not to replicate that.
Sure, but when you have Traore messing up that right side, I think it's really opening up the field, and that should allow Dest to transition into other places where Traore is pulling players from, right? He's opening up that pitch because not one person is enough on any team so far that we've played with Traore, which is only 2 games, but it's not enough to cover him. He's bodying people. He's making crosses. He has beautiful touches. He had a touch that came around his back. Wonderful play from him and opening up the pitch. I think Dest needs to take the advantage in those situations and move to the midfield, or kind of move to the open spaces, I should say.
Now I have one question for you, right? Because we're essentially some of our takeaways from this game is Busquets needs to not start for 90. We need to have Luc de Jong because Adama Traore has such great crosses. Are you worried at all that we're playing such a cross and pray game? Because that was a huge criticism we had of Koeman, right, for the start of this season, and it looks like basically that's our best plan of attack right now. Does that worry you? Because it does seem like we're getting all of our offensive chances from either Jordi Alba or Traore cross inside.
It worries me because it only has one play style, for example, and once a team figures out what you're doing, then they can possibly stop that. But at the same time, I don't think we've seen anyone on our right side like Traore who's opening up that spaces and able to cross those balls in with such precision. Because a lot of times our right side was Dest. He struggled to open and get open crosses in. But Traore's not having that problem, so I think that's advantageous. But
I think on my end, what you see when you have Gavi as the left winger, quote unquote, in this team, and not a traditional winger like Dembele or Abde on that left side, you don't get anyone really making runs. So it's hard for me to see how we're gonna get like the ball in the goal in another way, right? Because Frankie de Jong is sometimes running up, Pedri too, but they don't really have that ability to run and connect with like the striker or the midfielders as well as Dembele or Abde do. And then Adama Traore, if you look at how he plays, it's not oftentimes I see him making a run with the ball to connect to him for him to score, like a lot of wingers like Kylian Mbappe, for instance, would do. He really likes to get the ball, in the midfieldish area on that right side and then run at defenders, right? Sure. And so when you have that play style and you don't have a winger on the left side, it really just does seem like we're kind of resigned to the fate that we're going to have to cross the ball in and hope we get a goal happening, which is not the worst thing in the world, right? We saw the first goal was Pedri or Jordi Alba crossing into Pedri, and that scored. You saw in that Gavi goal, it was a little bit of a scrum, some real tight movements of the ball, and thankfully it fell to him, and he had that chance to score.
I think partially we're playing a higher line too, and so it's harder for our center attacker to create that space, because I think that it gets huddled in when especially if we slow down the ball like Busquets does a lot, because then we don't have Ferran Torres with open space. He can't really create as much. You got Frankie and then Pedri. I saw Pedri move up a lot, but that starts to crowd the middle, right? So if you have these midfielders pushing forward in the center, they're just going to, Espanyol in this case, is just going to cover the middle. And that then leads to the fact that the wingers have to then cross in the ball to create anything. So it's a rough situation, but we also have to play around with the fact that we can't slow down the ball in certain situations like Busquets does. We can't pass back the ball when there's no reason to. I saw many times Jordi Alba on the left side, which we really relied on in the first half, to receive the ball in an open space, but that's not always the clear choice. We want to sometimes push down the middle. I don't see a lot of passes over the top, Iniesta style, coming from Busquets as much, playing onside and be able to outpace the defender. So it's hard. It's definitely hard, and we have to play around with now the available attacking front that we have. Aubameyang hasn't started a game, I don't think, and then Ferran Torres has started the other games in which he's been kind of quiet. We need him to be a little more interactive.
That leads to my last question here, which is going into Napoli, what do you want to see different in our starting lineup for us to have a chance to advance?
Napoli is going to be tough just because
they just played a really good game against Inter Milan in Serie A this weekend. It's got me worried.
Well, I just feel like we have a harder time against other
European teams.
Yeah, exactly. So what do I want to see?
I mean, I know what I want to see. I want to see Luc de Jong start. For
You're
sure.
so pro Luc de Jong. Not a bad thing.
Well,
but we did criticize it a lot.
I mean, he's if Traore is going to deliver crosses like this time and time again, I know Luc de Jong will score, right? We memed him so much, and we have basically, since 2022 started, come around to the idea that we support him because he has, I think, 2 to 3 late goals that have saved us about 5 points this season, which is really good. So I want to see Luc de Jong start for sure. I think in the backline, if Araujo's injured, I want to see Piqué and Lenglet. I think that's the starting center back I want to see. And then I think we might have to try Dembele as left wing and then put perhaps, Pedri, Frankie de Jong, Gavi. I don't really want to see Busquets in this game where, again, I feel like he's just going to get overrun. And without Araujo, our best center back in the lineup, we really need that position to be able to at least, pressure their midfield and not give them opportunities to just run at, Lenglet or Eric Garcia, who are not that great of center backs.
What's interesting is we play Gavi on that left wing when he should not be played there in general, although he had that one opportunity like you said earlier, but that's not enough. That's not his position. We have Dembele. Why not utilize him? Definitely is someone who can cause some havoc. And even coming into this game, he had some crosses in. He took a long ball shot on goal. It wasn't the best, and he hasn't scored in a long time, but he is able to put a lot of pressure on a wing that he is on. And I think right now we're relying on Jordi Alba to do that. But if Dest is the one playing back and Alba's playing forward, I don't think it provides the same attacking potential, even though Alba does have some crosses in.
That's things you don't want to see. So what do you want to see against Napoli?
I don't know, man. It's hard because I think at the end of the day we have to. I want to see a attacking midfield. I want to see Luc de Jong coming in, but I think he should be a sub. And I only say that because I think he should sub later on, maybe in the second half, after Ferran Torres has a chance to perform a little bit better in the midfield or in the attacking front, excuse me. And then I obviously don't want to see Busquets, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I want to see Busquets come off in the half, have Gavi come in, Frankie de Jong.
So you want
Pedri.
The same starting lineup?
Yes.
Okay. I don't agree with you. I hope we see the changes I want, but we'll see. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys want to see, because I don't think what we have is working. So doing it again, I think, is just a recipe for disaster. But we will see you guys on Thursday after the Europa League game. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.